You're live. We are live. I think we really need to hit on that gray line.
Need to do what?
Hit on. You're live. All right, so hey Megan, hey Marie. We had a little change in plans today. Our guests, Lisa, hey, what's going on? Sarah, what's up? What's up, Sarah? We had a little change in plans today. Our guest, they had some issues that they ran into.
Unforeseen issues.
Yeah, so we're compensating on the fly, and I want everybody to bear with us until we get everybody in here. Tag some people.
Tag and share. Although things will not be what we planned them to be, we will nevertheless entertain and inform. So please share us out.
We're going to top that, actually. And I'm going to lower this cam down a little bit. That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. We adjust on the fly.
We adjust on the fly.
We live life on life's terms.
On
That's
the
what
fly.
you learn to do in early recovery.
Hey, Georgia.
Hi, Lisa.
Tag some people.
Tag, tag, tag. You're it.
Tag, tag, tag. Tag, tag, tag. Tag.
Trouble tagging on my phone. I'm going to try to tag on my laptop.
We got about another 4 minutes.
Plenty of time to tag some friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Amanda was going to be our guest. Something came up. She couldn't make it. Hey, Allison. Lori. What's up, Lori? Let's go get those shares. Let's go get those shares. Hi, Lynn. Lynn from Burton. Let's tag some people. Got another couple minutes.
Please do. Could help us a lot by doing that.
Hi, Kelly.
Pretty beautiful day out there today.
It's a beautiful day. Hey, y'all see our little logo in the window? We're actually making progress with our video, too.
We certainly are. We're making progress in just about every way.
Everywhere.
At least we're working, too.
We're trying. Let's tag some people.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. I see you tagged somebody.
Yeah,
we appreciate
Megan.
that.
Yeah. Lynn tagged somebody, too.
How's it going, Lynn?
Let's tag some people.
Let's do it.
Tag, tag, tag. You driving, Sarah? How dare you?
Whoa.
Are you essential?
You better be doing something with the confines of Governor Whitmer's instructions.
Yes.
Because I'm a tattletale.
He is.
I love tattling.
He tattles on everybody.
I'm a tattler.
For everything.
Every little thing. I'm trying to hold y'all accountable.
Whoa, hey, Natalie, medical warrior.
Oh, no, not the medical warrior.
The medical warrior. Oh, yeah, Sarah, we'll let that fly. She's an MA. So is Allison.
Holy cow.
Thanks for doing what you do, Sarah, Allison. Medical field's a rough field to be in right now.
Certainly is. Got to have a lot of admiration for anybody in it.
Rock on. Tag some people.
It would really help a lot.
Katrina Fargo. Welcome.
Welcome. What's up, Katrina? Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Katie. Hey, Katie, we have, thanks for tuning in. We're tagging people, getting people on board.
We're trying.
We got a couple minutes.
In a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about enabling, which is something that pretty much anybody who has familiarity with addiction and recovery knows that that's part of the game. So we're going to talk about it, put our spin on it, and hopefully get your feedback as well.
It's a tricky game.
Tag, share. Help us help someone else.
Hey, Karen.
Hi, Katie.
Let's get some people tagged. Let's do this.
You see Katie joined? I think
we're
talking upcoming guest here, right?
Yeah, Katie's going to be on Monday.
Fantastic.
We're going to drop the link to her page in the comments when we're done here. You can check her out. She does great things.
She certainly does.
No, Lynn, actually, Amanda was going to be our guest along with her mom, Karen. Something came up, so we're rocking and rolling. We go on the fly.
That's right. Living life on life's terms.
That's right.
That's what we do.
Adjust. Just like everybody has to adjust on the outside right now.
Right.
Well, actually, you should be on the inside.
That too.
Adjusting. But yeah, we're there.
Adjustment across the board.
Where's David?
David, you better show up. I know where you live. Somewhere in Michigan. So show up.
All right, so I'm going to tag.
I got a good one. Here's one Katrina knows. What up, Ben? Come on, Ben. You're a supportive guy. I took my son to get a haircut from you once. What kind of coffee is this?
It's Starbucks, actually.
If you're a coffee drinker, say, I'm a coffee drinker. We're about to get the show started, but in the meantime, I'd love to hear who else. See, coffee's like my addiction, right?
Hey, Justin.
Nowadays,
John.
There are days where I wake up and I have 2 cups down by 9 a.m. and then I'll keep drinking throughout the day.
And everybody that knows me knows I always have my coffee.
Oh, it's the best because sometimes some places give the sheriff's deputy hookup out. We won't say where. But it happens, and I'll be shotgun, and it kind of spills over to me.
What's going on, Justin? You hanging in there in this isolation?
What up, John?
Let's get some people in here. We got 41. We
Terry.
need 50. We'll start when we get 50.
Natalie, you're a coffee drinker, huh?
Hey, Stephanie. How's it going, Stephanie?
Go drink some coffee, Natalie.
Stephanie, if you need TP, let me know.
TP for what?
Well, she said she was running low.
Oh, I see.
And I told her I'd help her out.
Megan's a coffee drinker. Thanks for the tag, Georgia. If you can think of somebody that might like to talk about addiction and recovery or listen about addiction and recovery, specifically the topic of enabling, which is a good topic because what it does is it's an inclusive topic. It's not specific to, say, somebody who is a drug addict. It can be a loved one of a drug addict. I know that people in my life enabled me long before they even knew what enabling was. So it's definitely an important topic. I have some strong opinions about it. Some go against the grain a little bit because I am an addict, and I do think there is kind of a place for tough love. But
sure.
Tough love is also, for me, a trigger word. Just like you don't like the word trigger.
I don't like the word trigger.
You don't like the word trigger. I don't like the phrase tough love. But we'll get into all that in just a minute.
Hey, Earl, how's it going? Rhonda.
What's up, Earl?
Some came up with our guests. So we are on the fly, changing gears and topics while we're at it. Hey, Katrina. Another Katrina. We got all kinds of Katrinas today.
Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, like a hurricane, right?
Katrina is a wonderful name. I just want to put that out there. I really do think it is.
All right, tag some people and we're getting started.
I got a Katrina to tag. Wonderful woman in Flint. Let's see. She won't be online, but I'm going to tag her anyway. Some of y'all know
Megan,
her.
I think my coffee is 2 sugars only.
And her husband. Only 2. So that's not true. I've seen you put 3 in. You know you go a little bit beyond 2 sometimes.
It depends. 3 would be like max. I got to be feeling awfully squirrely to get 3.
All right.
But and then I'll eventually switch to black.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, what's up, Troy? Good to
Troy's
see
here,
you, Troy.
yeah.
That's super.
Lori, what's up, Lori? Lori joined us.
Good to see you, Lori.
Tag your mom. I'm about to tag her right now. I'm
Yeah,
faster than you.
Mrs. Tag the Mrs. Lindquist.
Boom.
Oh, Katie's got thoughts on enabling. I love it. We're going to get to them. So does Megan.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those things that we all have experience with. Like I said, if you are an addict or were an addict or know an addict and have cared about an addict, it's a topic that you'll certainly be able to identify with and hopefully contribute to. We're not just here to preach. We're trying to facilitate conversation and we're trying to learn more ourselves so that when we communicate our thoughts, they've been vetted by the recovery community. So please, by all means, chime in at any time.
Hey, Regina.
Regina, thanks for tuning in, Regina.
So before we even get started, we're getting actually we're going to start here in a minute, but you can be an enabler in different perspectives. Like it doesn't necessarily pertain only to addiction, right?
No.
So it can be a lot of different things.
Many different things.
Right. But yeah, hey Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks for coming, Lisa. All right, we're going to get started.
Let's get started. All right,
So today's topic is the enabler.
the enabler.
Right.
Enabling.
Enabling. Or both. So here's what we have to be careful about. When a parent or someone, we'll use an example as a parent, right? Because I think that runs the deepest, right?
Right. I think for sure.
Yeah. So when a parent finds out that their child is using it, does whatever the drug may be, that's a tough one to swallow because there's still that stigma out there with a lot of people. Not my kid. Not my kid. Yes, your kid, right?
Your kid. Yeah.
There's no telling. It could happen to anybody.
Anybody.
It doesn't matter your financial status, where you're living. Geographics don't matter. It does not matter.
No, addiction is not choosy. Addiction is happy to step into your life and destroy it by all means necessary.
And it does not discriminate.
It does not discriminate.
Right.
Not
So,
whatsoever.
At that point, when your child is in that situation, right, that's like where you as a parent are going to have those natural instincts to protect. Right.
Right.
So when someone's actively in addiction, right, so that the point where things start to like dwindle, whether it be responsibility, health, just all together, like socializing, maybe at the workplace. As a parent, you tend to pick that stuff up as best you can, right?
Right.
Which only allows the addict to continue to do less and less and less, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we do. Addicts are great. The whole give someone an inch and they'll take a mile. There are some people who are stand up out there that don't take advantage of situations like that, right? But addicts invariably absolutely do that.
Yes.
So the more you do for them, the less they do for themselves, the more they thrive in the wrong direction.
Well, when it finally catches up to you, and we'll get to that, Sarah.
Oh yeah.
Keep your hands on the wheel, Sarah. So there's that.
Hi, Stephanie.
So as a parent, you have that natural instinct to protect your child. And at that point, it's very difficult to find that fine line where you are loving and protecting your child and wanting them to change and helping them change to actually enabling them to continue. And it's really a difficult call. And I get a lot of times where the parents come in, they find out their child's been using for the first time, that they know of, and they're blown away.
Yeah.
And they want to bail them out because jail's a terrible place. And
scary.
Yeah.
Especially a parent who's always done the right things and never been in jail themselves, horrified by the idea that their child is behind bars.
Right. And some jails are terrible.
Absolutely.
And but we get that, overall we get that from watching movies and stuff and what goes on and which may or may not necessarily be the case.
And we tend to imagine the worst in situations like this.
So they want nothing but to get their kid out of this bad, horrible situation called jail, right?
Right.
So they'll
to their credit.
To their credit.
Because they love their kids. Yeah. Just trying to protect.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, Lori, like your mom.
You don't say.
Did she show up yet? Yeah.
Hi, Sandy.
Yeah, she was the perfect example of that. But so there's that fine line. Are we actually doing them good by getting them out? Are we actually processing? Okay, are they going to get out and just take right off? Right, because they will tell you anything you need to hear to get out of that jail because there's no drugs there.
Right.
Yes, Sarah, LCJ. Yeah, that was definitely the Ritz-Carlton of jails.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to both, and if I had to choose one, I would choose LCJ over Genesee County,
Yeah.
no doubt.
But yeah, so okay, Katrina, you drive safe, and yeah, it'll be posted on after we get done.
Will
here.
do, Katrina. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that fine line. Are you helping or are you actually encouraging, right?
Right.
And I think it's up to every parent to kind of, and it doesn't, we're just using a parent as an example. This could be a spouse, a friend, a sibling. You have to make that decision yourself. Like, are you okay with trying to accomplish what you are trying to accomplish with this person by helping them and making their situation better? Even though it may only be temporary, but you have to be okay with that yourself. Like you have to understand that there's consequences for each decision.
Correct. You know, one thing I would say is in this situation, especially with addiction and recovery, the lines become very blurred and we kind of get lost in it, lose the forest for the trees sometimes. And I would encourage somebody who is beginning to contemplate whether or not they're actually doing more harm than good by enabling their loved one to get some outside perspectives and to seek people who have been down that road before. Find someone who is also the parent of an addict. There are things like, I want to say, Al-Anon is what, there we go. So there are definitely support groups out there for people who have loved ones struggling with addiction, and you can get a lot of guidance there. At the end of the day, you have to make your own decisions, but to get feedback and external input, I think is a great way to go.
Yeah, and that's up to every individual, but that's some good advice that Tim just gave. You have to reach out to people who have already been through it. That's where people like Katie, for instance, and like I said, we'll drop her link in the comments when we're done.
Yep.
But people like Katie that are out there and sharing, right? They're there to help people. But that's the big thing.
That's really interesting, Katie. When
yeah.
you were told you were enabling, you were super offended, like it was a bad word, and you closed yourself off to guidance from that person. I'd love to hear, Katie, like what happened next. When did you come to realize that, you know what, I needed to hear that? The person who called me out on that actually has some kind of valuable insight that can help me. So I'd love to hear what unfolded from there, Katie.
Yes, and that's like a great line. Like, okay, and I strongly feel that each person individually has to just evaluate what the possible outcomes are of your actions.
Yes,
and you have to be okay with that because those outcomes could range across the spectrum. It could turn out perfect, and it could turn out horrible.
Yeah.
So you got best and worst case scenario.
Well, the stakes are so high.
Yes.
And I think when you find yourself in a situation, oftentimes is that certain decisions you make are perpetuating the individual's sickness. It's just contributing to the progressiveness of the disease.
Yeah.
But what you're afraid of, you're looking at it oftentimes, I think parents and people are looking at it from a harm reduction type standpoint. Like, if I can keep them safe, at least, if I can keep them here and keep my eyes on them and kind of keep them out of trouble, maybe one day they'll wake up to this and then they'll take steps to get better. If I just cut them off completely,
who knows
what's going to happen.
Right.
So it's a very, very, very difficult decision. And for people on the outside who haven't experienced it, to second guess another, please don't do that, because it's just walk a mile in your shoes. You know what I mean?
Right. And a lot of times, like as a parent, you're going to want to take up the responsibilities of an addict. You want to take care of them being irresponsible, and then that can snowball out of control quickly.
Sure.
And it can start from simply helping them out with rent, paying a phone bill.
Yep.
And then
lending them some money.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get their car fixed.
You'll get that money back.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it can snowball quickly out of control.
Very quickly.
And that's where you, as a parent, a sibling, a spouse, a friend, you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to reach out to people.
Yeah. Such fine lines.
Yeah. Because you'll hear a lot of times people in the field, like probation officers, counselors, even law enforcement, they're going to be blunt.
Yeah. You'll get the blunt message from
when
them.
you show up to bail out your kid and they know what's going on more than you do, they're going to be blunt. They're going to be like, hey, you're an enabler.
Yeah. And they're desensitized enough to it to just give you the straight facts, right?
Yeah.
They've been, I guess what I'm trying to say is they've done it. Chances are with so many other parents that they're not going to dance around it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Boom.
here's what's going on.
Right.
So please listen to that. Man, Katie's really contributing. I appreciate that. I can't wait till we talk to her.
Yeah,
So
it's
she
going to
really has
be,
some great thoughts.
her show is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So, so it may be well intended, right? The initial helping them out, bail them out from, jail for like $500 or whatever. And I've seen extreme cases where people have put their houses up.
Oh, please don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
Because you have to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah.
But like I said, to each their own, but that's on the extreme side.
Yeah. And, in a way, I apologize for saying what to do. It's never my intention to dictate to others. Really, we're both just trying to share our experiences and hopefully they're helpful. It's just that idea makes me squirm a little bit because I know that most cases that's going to have a catastrophic ending. Real quick, Joe, there's a gentleman in here named Troy who's contributing. Troy is a great guy. I've seen him around. He's, I don't want to say too much about him, but yeah, thank you so much for contributing, Troy. Bill W. did know what he was talking about. So pain is the touchstone to all growth, and I'd love to hear you share a little bit more about that as we continue to go forward.
So once you've decided at some point that you've crossed that line of caring and trying to help, and you've crossed that line and you've gone into the enabler territory, that is the most difficult point to come out of, right?
Yeah.
That's a bad place to be in because now you've realized it, the addict has realized it, but they've already taken advantage and set you up for failure. Like we've seen many cases. I mean, I've seen it where they'll push and push and push to get you to continue to pay that rent, that phone bill, lend them money.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, then it's like, okay, we'll try the other parent.
Yeah.
Then we'll badmouth their one parent to the other. Then I've seen it go all the way up to suicide threats. And that's
must be so hard.
Yeah. So that's not something anybody wants to deal with, but that is something, that's the truth of it. Like when an addict is fully focused on like that drug, and you can almost consider like that drug at that point the most important person or thing in their life. And they're going to do everything to protect it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so an addict is going to manipulate and say and do just about anything in order to use. So to manipulate a parent's emotions with the threat of suicide or something along those lines, that's to be expected.
Yes.
Frankly, we're willing to go there. I was willing to go there. I never actually did that, but I did things just as manipulative looking back. Yeah, I was willing to spin all kinds of crazy yarns and characterize myself in such a way that if you don't help me to get this drug, things are going to get worse somehow. Oh yeah, right.
I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So right, one way or another. So,
but you get wrapped up in that, and it's simple stuff. It's like a simple concept. Like you have that guilt feeling that if you don't pay the rent, that they're going to get evicted.
Right.
You don't put gas in the car, they're going to get fired from their job.
And then what?
Yeah. And then what, right?
Yeah,
so now you're in a deeper hole.
Yeah.
You have more responsibility, and that just kind of snowballs.
Certainly. Katie made a brilliant point. We go from caring to caretaking.
Yes.
I've never heard it put like that. Absolutely. You so succinctly summed up what this is all about. Knowing where that line is, knowing where caring, which is good, versus caretaking, which is not so good, because then we're enabling and we're not allowing this person to blossom. And the
Right.
only way we do that, the only way we grow is to take on challenges and jump hurdles by ourselves. So,
But it's definitely like something that you learn as you go, but you have to almost evaluate and assess everything before you act,
right.
because there's so many different possibilities for the outcome.
Yeah.
And you have to really be okay with what those are. And
Yeah.
I think that's the defining point, because every person's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be one parent that's going to say, boom, tough love, you're cut off. And they may know their child well enough to know that, okay, they're going to survive even though they're in this terrible position, but this is what they need. Right.
Every situation is different. I think
absolutely,
when you look at an individual and think, okay, I need to contemplate instilling some tough love here and possibly cutting them off from all these comforts that I provided them with to this point, you have to ask yourself, then what are they going to do? Some may then enter into more dangerous situations than others.
Right.
So you might want to carefully consider that. Others, you may have a pretty good grip on the idea of where they're going to go, what they're going to do. And, if it's just going to grandma's house, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's a good first step.
Yeah.
So I'll never judge anybody who's in that position to make that tough choice. I will just say, hey, Vanessa, I will just say that, I'm so grateful for the way my parents handled that situation. They absolutely did enable me along the way, for sure. But they never gave up on me and cut me off. And I'm grateful for that, because I know they considered it. They definitely threatened it.
At some point, I think every parent
Has
would.
to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether you're a sibling or a spouse, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And boundaries are so important. So absolutely, should somebody be willing to set healthy boundaries for themselves, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you really can't take care of anyone else.
Yeah.
And there is a time and place for healthy boundaries. Absolutely.
And those healthy boundaries are based off of you having, as a parent, spouse, friend, sibling, you have to weigh those consequences of going through short-term pain or long-term misery. That is, I guess, the best way to put it. You have to say, am I willing to do this?
It's
right?
it's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And it's something that each person has to know, but I can't say it enough. You have to reach out to people. I have parents come into the jail all the time. What do I do? What do I do? And I can give them advice based off of what I know. And we're a small community, so I do know a lot of people. And I know a lot of people we deal with. So I know a lot of their history, who they're hanging out with, that type of thing. And you hear things, right? So not necessarily always true, but based off of that, I can give them some advice. But at the end of the day, I tell them, you have to know yourself.
What you're saying, I think, coincides with another interesting thing that Katie said. Parents, we manipulate too. We will say and do anything to get them into treatment. And that's a really fascinating thing. As an addict, I never thought about that.
And that's something that I would never shame. If you're trying to get them into treatment, but
do the ends justify the means type thing. And in this case, it would seem like, they do.
Yeah.
Little white lies or big white lies. If the end goal is to help somebody, to help save their life, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Especially with a lot of, we're making progress, but to get someone in treatment, probably about a year ago, it was very difficult because the detox part of it was missing, right? A lot of these facilities were not taking people unless they were detox. So as a parent, I can see desperation mode, opportunities there. Let's do it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Terry, real quick, Terry had a good comment. If you cushion all their rock bottoms, they have no reason to quit by hiring them lawyers, giving them a safe place to sleep, money, a car to drive, bail money. It's just not allowing them to hit rock bottom. And I think that's insightful. And Terry, a lot of people probably agree with you, but what I want to hopefully hear from you at this point is what the alternative is. What you would suggest one do differently than those behaviors you just outlined. If you don't do that, then what do you do instead?
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll hear an addict say, or someone in recovery, better said, that they hit rock bottom, and was the turning point where they said, "I need help." Right?
Yes.
But a lot of times, and in most cases, that rock bottom is like jail.
Yeah, for me, I won't say that was the rock bottom, but man, it was right in that same category, right?
But
like,
for a lot of people, it is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like they're cornered. Everybody knows. Family knows. Husbands know. Wives know. It's a spot where you're cornered.
And you know what? It's one of the best rock bottoms you can have in most cases, because other rock bottoms are things like death or manslaughter.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I always say, going back onto when a parent comes to jail for the first time and they find out, oh my gosh, my son, daughter, or whatever is doing drugs. I can't believe this, right? They're blown away. Yeah.
No.
I always say, okay, before you bond them out, take the time, go home, right? Go home and sleep for the first time in a long time.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're safe here. They are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
they're safe and plenty comfortable given the circumstances,
given
right?
the circumstances.
So
the
you go home and make
great,
yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I absolutely would.
But that's my advice always is think about it, right?
Yeah.
Take the time you need to make a conscious decision that you're willing to live with. And you have to look at every consequence that's possible.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing that you contribute to this, Joe. I appreciate it so much. You harp on the fact that people need to make decisions that they can live with, right? Yeah. They're ultimately your decisions. So please, make decisions that are well informed, that you take time to going home and sleeping on it. It's a pretty good idea.
Well, everything's like just on pause at that point.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of parents, even if they know, like they've known that there's been a problem for a long time, and they'll actually come in and say, hey, I'm glad they're here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I have no idea what
I can't tell you how many times I've had those kind of conversations with other addicts in which we have said, we're grateful that our friend is locked up because, damn, they were headed in a dangerous direction. So better that.
Yeah.
And as addicts, to have that attitude, to be able to say, they're better off where they are right now. In fact, we're probably all better off that they're not on the streets.
Right.
That's where they need to be.
And that's what Lisa was just saying. Some of her best night sleeps have been when the addicts she loves were in jail.
We get it, Lisa.
Yeah, we get it.
Makes a ton of sense.
But Katie, that's an interesting point. So
they're not on the streets.
You can't talk down to someone who's like, okay, when you're deciding that line, where's that line for you in particular, right? As you're approaching that, right, you have to put a lot of it on the addict, right? You say, I'm willing to help you, but what are you going to do? What do you want to do to get help and get out of this situation and get into recovery and move on? And what are your goals? And I'll help you get there.
Yeah.
But we have to be like on the same page.
Without me taking ownership of my own recovery, there would be no recovery. It was really a necessary step. So I think that's great advice. I've seen it in a comment and what you're saying, Joe. I think you definitely have to, instead of being the caretaker and trying to be in control of the situation, take a step back and see, how can I assist you? Because I'm willing to assist you. I'm willing to help you. But from now on, I'm only willing to do things that I know are in your best interest and my best interest and our best interests. I'm no longer going to be a spoke in the wheel going in the wrong direction. David who?
David
what?
David made
Not
it.
Rush.
David Rush made
David
it.
Rush. What's up, buddy?
I see you rushed right in.
You did not rush right in. Normally you rush right in.
Not too late.
But it's not too late. It's great to see you,
never too late.
David's
so Troy, yes, that's it.
Really being responsible support. Appropriate.
Yeah, and that's key because a lot of times Troy made a very valid point. You have to take that route.
Yeah, and Troy, you know what? We can talk a little bit later away from all this. I'd love to have you on this show sometime. I know you have so much to contribute to the recovery community. So let's hook up on the side tonight or tomorrow and try to work something like that out, because it'd be great to have you in here, or we could do it over the internet. One way or another, we'll work it out. It'd be great to have you as a guest on our show. So please.
Yeah, and really what you have to do is you have to put some the majority of the responsibility on the addicts, right? Some of it's going to be out of their hands, whether it be getting them to rehab, finding them resources to get help, because that's something that you almost have to encourage, right? But they have to make that decision that they want help. They have to be honest with themselves and say, I have a problem and I want to fix it.
And I think when you have an addict in your life that you've been trying to help and you're going through this whole enabling battle that we're talking about, you need eyes like a hawk in order to identify that moment when that addict is ready, that person is ready to fight their addiction.
And you'll know.
You'll know. And they actually sometimes come along more frequently than people realize. However, they are so fleeting. Yes. They come, but they go as quick as they came. So being able to see that and see
small window of opportunity.
It's such a small window, but once it's cracked, man, you can get in there and open it up for sure. I know that happened in my case many times.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it is that approach has to be, I'm not going to do it for you. I can't do it for you, right? But I'm willing to help you. But that help has to be thought out quite thoroughly. Like you can't just throw money at it. You can't do that's not going to work.
Not going to work.
Right. And an addict is going to want, that's their route. Throw some money at it, right? Oh. Pay my bills, right? Pay my bills.
My mom used to give me her debit card.
See, that right there.
I look back on that and think, why did you give me your debit card?
Yeah, and I'm sure she's looking back and like, why?
Right.
But those are the things you have to be really conscious of. Like when you hand an addict a debit card, just consider you broke, right? You're done, right? Yeah. Where's that Trump check?
No,
I need
I'll
refill.
tell you what, I never busted my parents completely, but I never took the amount they told me to take.
Well, of course not.
It was always a little bit more.
Right.
It would be like, oh, well, I remembered this.
Yeah.
Right? I'll get you. I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
Then, no.
But those are the things where you have to be okay with, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But they were trying to help. At that point in time, it was the sort of thing that you talked about at the beginning. It was like, man, we know he's struggling, but if he loses his job, if he loses his place, if he loses these good things, it's only going to get worse. So we're trying to help keep the raft afloat, right? Even though it's got all these leaks in it. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a thought we keep coming back to.
Yeah, and we can't resolve every problem of an addict.
No.
They have to step up and they have to take responsibility for the smaller things that are going to be those steps to get to recovery, right? And by that, we mean simply they have to acknowledge they have a problem. They have to be honest with themselves and they have to buckle down and say, okay, I need it, right? And then at that point, we can start looking for resources, support them, say, hey, that's where the control comes in. Like, where you at? What are you doing? This is not good for, that kind of encouragement, right? It's got to be positive, but it's got to be firm. And you have to be blunt because a lot of times an addict, and I've seen this a million times, especially when I was new into the world of corrections, right? So they would come in and they would you could see their arms just track marks up and down. They're high as a kite. And on the intake questionnaire is, how many times do you use drugs a day or how often you use drugs at all? And one time a year. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go play the lottery because this is your day.
Yeah, right.
It just happens, right?
Right.
But they would feed me so many different, I'm a social user, and we all know that is not going to happen. Right. But they will feed you whatever you need to hear. And I use the example, and this is
so manipulative.
Yeah, this is the example that I'll use. And I don't know if she's watching or not, but it doesn't matter. She would be happy for me to tell this story. And Lori, you did the same thing. Okay, Lori. Yeah, you did the same thing. So they come to jail, then they go to get arraigned, and the parents are like, what do I do? What do I do? Right? And I'm like, you don't bail them out, right? Knowing their situation, sleep on it, right? Evaluate it and know that if you let them out, you have to know the possibilities. Okay, so that bond hearing comes up really quick, right? So they go down to the courthouse, and Lori, I remember you were up at the podium, and the judge set your bond. It was $500, and
it's about the going rate these days.
It's about the going rate for the smaller issues, but so she looks over at her mom and is like, there you go, the crocodile tears.
Oh, those crocodile tears. They'll get you every time.
Oh, yeah. And it's like clockwork.
They're powerful.
Yeah.
It's like potion.
And she's like, Mom, get me out. It's like, yeah, no, right?
No.
No. Her mom's like, no.
Not today.
Because she made the decision based off of advice from multiple people. And she was able to sleep on it. She's not going to. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Kelly.
But she wasn't going to do it, right? She was going to let Lori sit for a minute, right? Because she knew she got out. She was the typical addict behavior, not being responsible, lying, and taking right off. So
sure.
she predicted that herself, and she was okay with leaving her in there. So we had another one, and I said, okay, this is what's going to happen. She's going to go in there up to the podium. She's going to be fine. Judge can say, do you have anything to say for yourself? And then it's crocodile tears. My kids need me, and please get me out. Okay? It's the same every time. Like, do you guys like to have a playbook for this?
It's instinctive. It's
yeah.
just, we all.
But that's an example of how they play on your feelings, right?
Right.
They play it.
Because that's the only card they have.
It's it.
That's it.
So you have to be well aware of that, and you have to evaluate it. And I can't stress it enough. You have to be comfortable with your decision, not the decision they want you to make.
So there's a list I talked a little bit about off air, 7 signs of an enabler. I'd like to share it because I think some people are going to find themselves in a situation where they are just now realizing that they're enabling addictive behavior. They're confused. They don't have enough information. So real quickly, let's go over this. The first one would be ignoring shifty behavior, right? If your loved one is sneaking out at all hours of the night,
yeah,
right? I like the way this article puts it. It's your first red flag, right? So let's look for some red flags. Shifty behavior, like sneaking out at all hours of the night, is definitely not something your typical human being does, right?
Right. I don't do it.
What would compel one to frequently leave the house at random hours of the night? There's only so many things, and we don't need to get into a list, but there are a few things that would motivate an individual to go out into the world in the middle of the night.
Well, you would think it would be like an emergency, but you would notify your spouse or whatever.
There would be less sneaking.
Right.
So definitely don't ignore shifty behavior. Withdrawal from usual social obligations, missing work,
big one.
Being fired.
Big one, like not having contact with friends, family. They used to maybe go like socializing, like go to events.
Yes.
Have interests like video gaming or comics or
Once
whatever.
they lose that.
It's
another red flag.
Red flag. We need a red flag.
We should get one. We
can
start throwing flags. So we'll be your NFL in the meantime.
I'm only sorry because I got caught. I love that one.
Right? Newly acquired jobs in a short amount of time, only feeling the fire. The sooner you approach addiction, the easier it is to get through to the addict. That's not something we've said, but I think that's an interesting insight. And I do think once you start building so much momentum with this lifestyle, it does become harder and harder to drag yourself out of it. Number two, resentment of the addict. It's possible to enable the addiction while growing resentment for the addict. Believe me.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of resentment from my loved ones. They didn't want to have it. They didn't want to have those feelings for me, but I don't think they could help it based on the way I was treating them. I was using them. I was hurting them. So it's almost impossible, I think, to not start having a little bit of resentment toward a person.
I mean, it builds up, and you're like, again. Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle, as they say here. Oftentimes, we resent people quietly. It's rarely out in the open for all to see. It can be for a number of reasons, but action needs to be taken. Number three, blaming situations and others for the addict's actions.
So it was the police's fault, right?
Yeah, justification
it's
is
always,
the word that comes to mind.
Yeah, the first one is always the officer's fault.
Yeah.
Right?
He's picking on them.
Yeah.
When you're trying to hide the fact that someone in your family is an addict, you'll ignore the signs such as withdrawn behavior, physical abnormalities, mood changes, and ignoring the facts can only lead to ruin. The truth of the matter is the enabler is hiding the addict's behavior.
Number, where are we at? 4?
4, lying to others. covering up the addict's behavior.
Get out of here.
Mom, he's just tired. Of course
Yes.
he's happy to see you. He worked all night.
Yes.
No.
No.
If you're doing that, if you
He's
find
over
yourself,
a friend's house
yeah,
tonight.
he's at a friend's house.
Yeah, the reason he left in the middle of the night was his friend broke down on the highway.
Right, yeah, all that kind of stuff. If you're doing it, it should be a flag to you that you're engaging in enabling behavior, and it might be time to rethink your strategy.
We need a red flag. We gotta get a red. I'm getting a red flag, so we can throw that.
We need a red flag.
Yeah.
We have some
All right.
red, but we
So
won't
what's
throw
number
it.
the
Number
fifth?
5 is inability to express emotions.
Oh, so is that like a denial phase? Like
An enabler hiding from their own emotions is governed by fear. While this still doesn't excuse their actions and can be serious impediment for an addict seeking proper help, it needs to be addressed.
makes sense.
Yeah. Some of these things, being an addict and not an enabler, I've not thought about before. So that's part of the reason I love what we're doing is I continue to learn, and by learning more, I'm able to help others.
Absolutely.
How about 6? You up for 6?
I'm up for 6.
Letting fear run you.
That's a biggie.
You know, this same thing applies to addicts. So much of our behavior and so many of our decisions are fear-based. When an enabler makes up excuses for their loved ones, it predominantly derives from fear. Fear of losing the addict to conflict or rehabilitation. And when fear runs you, you're not yourself.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
So, last but not least,
prioritization. Enablers prioritize the needs of an addict over their own.
So that's when it takes over your life. Like, I hear this so many times. Like, when an addict is finally in rehab and doing well and on the road to recovery, the parents are like, I have my life back, right? Because then a lot of times they've had the children, right? They've had to care for the children,
Yes.
grandchildren.
Yes.
So their lives are like completely turned around. Like I've seen people that are caring for these kids and they planned on retiring, right?
Yeah.
And like going down where it's warm, like we're in Michigan, it's cold. You don't want to retire here,
Right.
but they're stuck here, right? Their lives have changed drastically. Their plans have changed.
Yeah. You know, this is just like, it was a quick Google search. There's so much information out there. And I think that's something I hope to like kind of relay to you guys is that it's easy to go out there and read things and get information to help you. But the best thing I think to do is when you have that information and it starts creating questions in your mind is to reach out to people who have been through it. People who have already done the same Google search as you have, who have already wrestled, or
where would I go if I just found out that my spouse, my child, or my friend was using? Where would I go to get advice, help, or guidance, or even just find resources?
Where would you go?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Well, I mean, like I said,
Off the top of your head, where would I go?
well, like things like Al-Anon, there are support groups out there. And, you know, we also tend to know people who are in our circle, in our community, in our neighborhood who have been through it. It's so hard sometimes to open that door and to broach this conversation, to admit
Yes.
that a loved one of yours is struggling with this, but it's so worth it. It's really the best way to move forward and help your loved one get past that stigma and fear and take action.
Yep, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth.
Do it!
I'm going to do it. So reach out, Google it. Google's a wonderful thing. Google
Wonderful
support
thing.
groups in my area, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there. And if you don't know, get a hold of us. And Crystal just brought up a good point. Church. A lot of church groups are being run through the churches. They support. We have Alcoholics for Christ, for example.
Yeah.
We have a lot of them that are just taking these groups and starting them up to help people that are in their communities, and those are people that are truly trying to help, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to meet other people that are going through or have gone through what you are coming into.
We left out two obvious ones for us. The first one being FAN.
Yeah.
Families Against Narcotics. There's
Well, they're
chapters
spreading throughout the
all
United
over
States.
Michigan
Yeah.
and locally. It's a great resource. There are a lot of people who are affected by addiction, and not personally, but through their loved ones' use. And another resource we must throw out there is, frankly, Law and Disorder. You and me and Joe. We're happy to help anybody we can. We're very accessible. You can reach out to us a number of ways.
And we're very networked.
We're super
very
responsive,
yep.
and we're very networked. So if we can't help you, chances are good that we know someone who can and will help you. So by all means, please, this is part of why we're doing what we're doing. Let us be a resource to you.
And really, honestly, Lori, you hit it right on right there. Yep, home run, Lori. It's the help is out there. It's become so. We're breaking the stigma, right?
Yes.
So you have all kinds of help out there. It's over the last couple of years, it's just blown up, like as far as resources, hotlines.
Oh, yeah.
But we understand, like it's hard to get over that initial blast, right?
Yeah.
You're like, my child, my wife, my husband, my whatever. That's a hard pill to swallow as far as coming out of that shell and admitting something like that. But we're getting past that, right? It's so common that we have to understand that that's not something you hide anymore. It used to be you hid it, right?
Yeah.
You hide it, and that was part of enabling, right?
Sure.
And that enabled the addict to continue.
Yeah.
Now we're coming out, we're getting help, we're getting all these resources where they're available.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Hit us up on Messenger, email. We are well networked. We'll get you that information.
Most def. We're gonna have my parents on eventually, and I need to start jotting questions down because I would really, really love to hear from them when it was or how they struggled with that initial idea of being honest with their community about the fact that they had a son who was struggling with addiction, because it happened. They are now, and they're comfortable with it. They're very proud of me, and I'm grateful for that. But there was a time where I know they were embarrassed, and I'm sure they didn't know how to do that.
Exactly.
So
I want to piggyback off of two comments that were made there.
Let's do
it. Awesome comments. Okay. So that is a huge hurdle to get over. That's why Katie just mentioned she does her stuff virtually, right? That's why Tim and I are here doing this right now. We understood right away that that's a hurdle to get over, and it's a difficult one, whether it be for the addict or just the family members or loved ones or whatever. It's very difficult to get over that. And then Kelly brought up a very good point is if you go to one group and it's not a fit for you, right? Some of them, I say this all the time, and there's no offense intended. I am not a religious person, right? But if I go into a group and it may be in a church or it may be in a cafeteria, wherever it is, if I go in there, I put that aside, right? If I'm not comfortable and it's not a good fit, you keep moving on, right? You go to the next one until you find it. They're out there, right?
Yep.
Your
tribe is out there.
There's groups out there that every other word is the F word, right? If that's your thing, that's your thing.
Yeah.
If there's groups out there they're very religious. If that's your thing, that's your thing. Find that group.
Yeah. Well, Troy had a great comment. It's a long comment, so I'm not going to parse it too much. But at the end, he really zeroed in on what we're saying here, and it was in capital letters, partly ask for help, right? So keep going. If you don't find the right group at first, keep going around looking for that group, asking for help. You're gonna find it because it's out there nowadays.
Like here's a good point. Okay, if you have no idea where to go for help, and you're not a person that just Google something and call a number, a hotline or whatever, that wouldn't be for me. So I understand that totally, right? You can go into just about any police agency, and there's probably guaranteed something available, right? Sure. You can go to any community mental health.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep. And nowadays, even more extensively in doctors' offices. Look around. Ask. Right?
Yeah, there's some doctors who are really going to great lengths to educate themselves on this. I have one who I have so much respect for. Yeah, he's trying to learn more and more about this epidemic so he can treat it accordingly.
So it's expanding. You just have to look around, be aware, and ask. So I think with that, we're going to thank everybody for tuning in today. When you're done, share us.
Share, please. It helps so much. Whether you're watching it live or after the fact, regardless, a share will go a long way.
Yep, and we're going to drop Katie's link in there. She'll be on with us Monday.
So excited for that.
Yep.
It's going to be a great show.
Of course, we're going to do that remotely because no shaking hands.
Correct.
And
We're doing this responsibly.
personal space.
Yes. This is 6 feet.
Social distancing.
Ish.
I have a very long arm.
Long arm
Yeah.
of the law is what you're looking at.
That's
right there.
it.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
And share away. And look for us. We'll be on Saturday.
Saturday.
Yep.
We'll be back, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Saturday at 7.
We will see you.
Yep. You won't be at the movies. You won't be out at, well, maybe dinner, but you won't be out. You'll be home. So we'll see you then.
There's no excuses.
None whatsoever.
All right. So let's see you then.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.